This is Walter. He wishes you a good day. r/ask Reddit by Planet Reddit. People who have been caught having sex by their parents. What was that like? My mom didn't say anything while we were doing it, but after I dropped off my girlfriend and returned home, she said, "You need to respect the people who are living in this house." I immediately knew what she was talking about. Edit. No, my mom didn't catch us in the act. We were probably just being too loud. My mom waited until the next morning, made me a wonderful omelette, and then when I was 3 bites in with a mouthful chomping away, she said, "If you get a girl pregnant, we will not help you raise the baby." I damn near died. It cause a lot of you are damaged. My parents are fantastic people. I was a fuck up as a 19-year-old, and the point they were making was that I was not responsible enough to have a child. Obviously they would not have let me fuck up my offspring's life. To that point, it's not their responsibility to fix my problems, only to guide me and help me along the way, and nothing is a bigger wake-up call than knowing you don't have a safety net after having one for so long. My parents now live with me in true DC fashion and do a shit ton to help me with my child. Especially after my divorce, when I was working crazy hours and my son would be with me. You should have said, "No problem." I won't either. Dominance asserted. My mother had trouble starting her Vespa, so she came into my room to ask me to start it for her. Which was uncomfortable cause I was quite literally balls deep in my GF at that time. I hadn't locked the room because I thought my mother had left with her scooter. She just calmly asked how long it was going to take us and if I could pause and help her because she was late for work. It was more funny than awkward, to be honest. But we always had a pretty open way of talking about that stuff. Childhood, can you pause your online game? Adulthood, can you pause the fucking? Answer to both, no mom, I told you it's multiplayer. People are relying on me. Not caught, but one time in high school my girlfriend and I were at her house having sex, and she was very loud about it because we were the only ones there. So we thought. After we were done we walk out to the living room and her dad was sitting on the couch and gave me a death stare I will never forget. He didn't say a word to either one of us, and she told me he didn't talk to her for a week. Same thing happened with my dad. Luckily I left the bedroom before her to get a drink, so my dad waited a minute and acted like he just got home so we could pretend he didn't hear anything. This is what legends are made of. If your own father doesn't act as your wingman, who will? That's what Darwin would have wanted. Not exactly what you asked for, but when I was 18 my girlfriend at the time and I were watching movies in my room. My grandma came by and knocked on my door before coming in to say hi. She saw us asleep and fully clothed. She chuckled, apologized, and closed the door. I heard my grandma telling my mom that she walked in on me doing something scandalous. You were holding hands, weren't you? Scandalous indeed. And fingers were laced. Worse. Headpits were involved. Worse, premarital eye contact. That's just nasty. Premarital breathing near each other. Nasties. Happened twice. First time was my brother when I was like 17 to 18. Wanted me to move my car, so he walked into my room. Blanket was over us, but I was on top of her when she walked in. He just said sorry and closed the door. He profusely apologized later that day when I saw him again. Second time was my mom. She wanted to know if girlfriend was staying for dinner. Just walked in, flailed her arms around for a second, and ran off faster than I've ever seen her run before, leaving the door open. We just got up, got dressed, and that was it. Mom never brought it up again. That first time was my brother when I was 17, 18. I legit thought for a second you got caught having sex with your brother. I legit thought that tool mayo. The mom part is cute somehow. I'm imagining Kermit the Frog arms. My high school girlfriend was on top and I wanted to be on top, so I pushed her backwards. When she fell back she hit her head on the corner of my nightstand and immediately started bleeding. When she saw the blood she started screaming and crying. My mother and her friends came rushing in to save her. She wrapped up with the blanket, so I'm just standing there at full mast with Susan eyeballing me. My mother and I were always open about this sort of stuff, so she knew we were having sex, and it wasn't a big deal. She did tease me for a couple of weeks afterwards, pretending like I was abusive. Who the fuck is Susan? The lady with the big eyeballs. But Susan, what big eyeballs you have. The better to be eyeballing your balls, my dear. But Susan, what strong hands you have. The better to teach this young teen how to have sex, my dear. *SOURCE, SusanSteachTeenSex.com. Your comment made me laugh more than the other guys. Giggling like a wee goof. Got caught banging my best friend's stepsister in her car, in the driveway, when I was 17. It was my grandmother that caught us. We were parked under a bright ass HPS light that was on the front of my granddad's shop, with the door open, like the stupid horny teens we were. I'm going to town, and I hear a smack on the windshield. My grandma is standing there with a furious look on her face, and screams at the top of her lungs, "Just what the hell are you doing?" I look up with what I can only guess is a horrified and confused look on my face, with my neon white ass exposed, and say, "What the hell does it look like I'm doing?" I pull out and sprint to the house, jump in my bed and pull the covers over my head. Needless to say, there was a very awkward breakfast the next morning. A few months later, I'm on my way out the door to take the same girl to prom, and she hands me a few 20s wrapped around a strip of condoms. She looks me in the eyes, smiles a big toothy grin, and says, "Now, don't spend it all in one place, son." My grandma is a fucking legend, especially considering she's a Southern Baptist from Texas. That was one of the most hilarious things she ever said to me. I snuck into my girlfriend's room and stayed the night one time because I had nowhere else to go. Usually her mom leaves for work before everyone gets up for school, but this particular morning her mom came in to ask her something before leaving. Yeah, I woke up to her mother screaming, "Get out of her bed," and ripping the blankets off, and of course I was butt naked. Her mom started acting like she was worried her teenage daughter would get pregnant all the time, and I kind of just avoided her mother for a while because I couldn't look her in the eye. So yeah, anyways, that's the story of how my mother-in-law saw my dick when I was 15. Not my parents but her parents. I didn't know what to do or say when her mother walked in, so I yelled out loud, "We were wrestling." Very awkward. That's about as good as that could have possibly gone. Which is to say, it was terrible. Yay, but what do you think of the excuse? Are you winning, son? I love you. Thank you for supporting Planet Reddit.